The rich tells us you can't become a millionaire by saving. Sometimes when I'm online, I come across these interviews with billionaires and successful entrepreneurs, giving advice about you don't get rich by saving every penny or investing in a 401k. They want to sell the idea of taking on more aggressive risks, not just investing in the S&P 500 in retirement accounts. I somewhat agree. I feel like I'm saving to $1 million by being frugal, which doesn't sound so assuring and enjoyable. What are your thoughts on this advice from rich people? You can totally hit $1 million by being frugal. It's if you want to live like that. If you want to make money, you have to become very competent at something that demands a high value, which is what most entrepreneur millionaires have done. There is a massive difference between being a millionaire and having $1 million in the bank and having 100 million. The interest of one of them will give you a much better quality of life. Give a baby $12K and let it sit in an index fund. When they are 6'5" and haven't touched it or contributed anymore, it should be an inflation-adjusted $1 million, 6.6 million. You need time, high income, or risk to become rich. Not necessarily all three. Many of these entrepreneurs and billionaires did not start from a normal working-class families. They can afford to take on risks knowing that if their businesses fail, they can always fall back to their family for support and try again. Higher risks equals more potential reward, of course. But, can you afford those risks like they do? And I'm even not counting their seed money. Oh, I only got a one-arm loan from my dad to start, or my first contract was from my mom's super rich classmates. I can start my business and made a lot of money. Why can't everyone do what I do? F that. Nobody says you don't get rich by investing in the stock market, or at least nobody worth listening to. They say you don't get rich saving money into a bank account, which is broadly true. On top of that, you have to account for survivorship bias. The richest people are generally the people who took the most risk. Meaning you are asking the one in millions, not the millions who did the same and failed. For every very smart person who risked it all at thousands to one to make billions, there are millions who invested in a diversified and more moderate fashion, got 6 to 12% a year odd, and become a millionaire, but with far less dispersion of outcomes. I've never really thought about retiring early as a desire to get rich. It's really just about being able to live my current upper middle class lifestyle in perpetuity. I've had that conflicting belief that maybe I should push harder and work on my own business to go after more extreme wealth. But then I step back and think about the time it would require and the possibility of not even being successful. Also, let's say I hit 25 million. What do I buy? The most enjoyment I have gotten out of life is travel and my hobbies, all of which I have more than enough to do at my current income level. I know some mega wealthy people, and most of them simply enjoy working and keep on doing it. Some are even more frugal than myself despite having over 100+ million. I think it's a useful thought experiment to determine what would I actually buy and enjoy if I had this level of wealth. And is it worth giving up part of my life to achieve this, or would I rather quit out early and enjoy my hobbies? There was an article in Rolling Stone or Variety or whatnot where they looked into why so many Swedish companies were on the map, Klarna, Spotify, etc., and they deduced that it's because Swedes are able to take chances on ideas and companies and things like that, because if they fail, they don't lose their health insurance or live on the streets, they just go back to a regular job, or look for another one and move on. So rich kids with familial safety nets are able to take chances. First, if you want to become really rich, like 100 million rich, they're right. You aren't going to make it to $100 million by saving $50,000 a year for 2,000 years. So if that's your goal, this isn't the path for you. But ultimately, the people you see online or on TV, those people were pre-selected because they happened to succeed at what they did. They aren't interviewing the people who tried to start their own companies, quit their jobs, mortgaged their houses, and then went bankrupt. They're interviewing the ones who were successful. If you interviewed 100 people who won more than $100 million in the lottery, most would tell you that the lottery is the way to become very rich. Instead, You've seen 100 interviews with people who become very rich by being entrepreneurs, so their opinion is that you should be an entrepreneur. And that's not even counting how many of those entrepreneurs are actually salespeople who may or may not be successful, but they have a vested interest in making you think you need what they are selling. Well, I was rich 10 years ago. 25 years ago, I lived in a coal town. I put money into a Vanguard SP 500 index fund faithfully and consistently. Now I'm a millionaire. Live in a nice home and will likely be able to leave millions to my children. No crazy risk. For a poor boy from the mountains, I feel far more rich than I ever dreamed. Take that for what it's worth. Commitment and contentment. They'll change your life in more areas than just finances. My dad just retired with about $1 million in his account, and he just slowly but surely saved and invested over 30 plus years. There are so many people that just don't do that though. My dad knew tons of guys that worked in his same company that went out and bought boats and new trucks and all kinds of stuff when the company ended pensions and cashed everyone out. Dad rolled all his over to his own account and just kept chugging along. A lot of those guys who treated it like a free bonanza, going out spending it, then lost everything when the 2008 crash hit a couple years later. Laid off, house foreclosed, had to sell those nice cars and boats. My parents aren't exactly cheap, but definitely frugal, and they're going to be just fine in retirement just because they had a plan and stuck to it. They've inspired me to do the same, but be even more aggressive about saving and investing towards retirement. I live in Silicon Valley. My neighbor who is in his 70s talked about a bunch of people he knows who struck it rich in the IPO lottery. One after another and another all around him. But just not him in a big way. There are so many like him in this valley. These guys were on the ground floor when this valley minted multimillionaires. He's doing just fine because he bought his $2 million home less than 10% of that in the late 70s. These near misses are still happening today. The brother of my wife's friend got options which he exercised with a paper gain of almost $2 million. Then he watched that stock tumble 90%. Then he found himself owing a huge tax bill to Uncle Sam. Luck has so much to do with making it. But, to a certain degree, we make our own luck. When these billionaires and such talk about rich, they don't mean the humble millionaire next door types. They mean really, really rich. Beyond Sapphire rich. I think the masses think someone that has $1 million is rich, but if they understood that from that million you can only safely spend about $35,000 a year, it kind of puts things in a different light. You absolutely can become a millionaire by simply saving a decent portion of your income and investing it. You don't have to take big risks. You don't have to hustle. Something like VTSAX and chill is super straightforward. Time and compound interest combine to get you there. They're right. You aren't going to get to mid-8 figures plus just from a high W-2 earning job and investing. 7 low 8 figures? Sure. But anyone higher than that almost certainly got that way from running their own business or C-level positions in someone else's. As another commenter said though, this is survivorship bias. Pretty much anyone can end up 7 to 8 figure net worth in their life if they chase high-earning W-2 jobs hard enough and are frugal enough. The same cannot be said for business success. As others have said, rich means very different things to different people. The consensus in this sub is usually somewhere around $2.5 to $3.5 million as being the goal. For the rich people in our society, certainly the ultra-wealthy, this amount is very modest. It's their fun money accounts. Financial independence does not equal rich. Two very different concepts with very different goals in my opinion. Starting a company or inventing something valuable is obviously a path to wealth, however risky. Personally, I'd tell you the easiest path for the common person is living well below your means and systematically investing in the stock market over time. It's not sexy, but you can accumulate millions of 20 to 30 years of sustained investment. How do I know? I've done it. The traditional way to get richer follows a few steps. Spend less, save money, invest money in a safe spot. This is where most people stop. They don't go further than that. This is almost middle class, upper middle class at best unless you are a public company CEO, etc. However, to get rich, you need to break out of that. Start your own business. Risky investments with large payoffs. These are more or less the windfall events. Events that put a large amount of cash in your pocket. Sure, you can save 2-5M over the course of your career, but a successful company can put 5-10M in your pocket in one shot. A very strategic investment can triple-digit extra capital. Leveraging and acquiring real estate can skyrocket your net worth, etc. They do come with risks, as few have risen to glory, hundreds have been broken. It's very normal to have a few who stand there and preach this is the way to go, while many have failed and went back to the simpler methods. Financial independence means having enough resources to meet your needs without relying on a job to pay you. Sure, that requires a lot of money. But how much money it requires depends on how well you control what your needs are. I am nearing the end of my retiring early journey. I've been very, very fortunate in life. I've also worked hard and invested a lot. I probably am considered rich by the standards of 99% of people in the world. I would be considered middle class at best by the standards of truly wealthy people in America and other wealthy nations. And I just don't care. I actually don't want to accumulate more money. I don't want to be wealthier. I want to enjoy what I have. Once you get to a certain point, where your needs and basic desires are met, I think it really is true that more money means more problems. Long story short is don't listen to people who measure success only in terms of becoming fantastically wealthy. There's nothing wrong with being wealthy. There's nothing wrong with starting a business, taking risks, and pursuing that kind of success. But it's not the only kind of financial success. Living a simple life, with simple needs that are met in such a way that you don't feel day-to-day and month-to-month stress about money is a pretty damn good definition of success in my book. You have reasonable and achievable financial goals that make sense for you. Pursue those goals. Don't compare yourself to anyone else and don't let anyone else measure your success for you. Thanks for watching and being on the road to Red a Millionaire with us. So, can you become rich by saving, or are all rich people business owners? Let us know. Until next one.